on this Tuesday, peculiar Tuesday. So hopefully you all will take a break from the TV real quick. Come and join us in this important discussion around narcissistic abuse and trauma, and how it's affecting our relationships and family. We are broadcasting live on Facebook and YouTube right now. Instagram, love you, but you can't see Leo this way. So, what I'm going to do as I learn how to stream better, what I'm going to do is post our full video on Instagram after we're done tonight. For now, you can go to Facebook at LadyWake TT and hop on our live there, or just watch the replay later. All right. Now, I am LadyWake. LadyWake is my name, and it has the meaning of awakening ladies to ourselves, for the purpose of healing and transmutation. And so I have decided, since there is so much exposure to narcissism lately, and people are seeing it and hearing about it and realizing how much of it they have in their lives, I would bring my very own brother, Dr. Leo. Y'all gave him that name, Dr. Leo. Bring Dr. Leo in to have a discussion about about narcissism in general, and also some of our personal experiences around narcissism, trauma, and how it's affected us in our family and our individual ways, and kind of together too. So, Dr. Leo, I'll give you the floor. Let you introduce yourself. Say what's up to the people.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? It's Leo, Dr. Leo, however you know me. Glad to be back. It's been a long time since we've been live on air for a full show together.
Yeah.
I'd say over a year. It's been, wow.
Yeah.
That's crazy. But hopefully everybody's relaxed, and I promise whatever happens tonight with elections, everything will be all right, guys.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. It'll be okay. So it's important to be in control of our energy. You know what I'm saying? That's what we all about here. Personal power. You got it. You got it too. All of us. So yeah, take a break with us right now. If you are here, go to Facebook. Follow me on the LadyWake page at LadyWake TT, LadyWaketT, or YouTube. All right. Let's jump into it. Joe.
Let's do it.
So I posted something earlier around narcissism in terms of what it is and what we might see in our lives in terms of different types of narcissists. So I want to cover that real quick, and then I want you to tell me the kind of narcissist you've dealt with in your life, because I feel like people have an idea that narcissists look this one way, when in fact there are very different varieties of narcissism that we need to be aware of. So there are 6 types of narcissists. There are probably more depending on who you talk to, but these 6 are kind of like, the gist of it. First one is grandiose narcissism. So that's the person who's extra, overt expressions of superiority. They feel entitled, and people see, I think, they feel like that is what narcissism is, because they're clearly an asshole, basically. They're like, I'm better than you, and I know that, so you should too, type deal. Then the second one, what'd you say?
I said right.
Yep. And then the second one is what they call malignant. So this is a person who is usually deemed very dangerous, because they have the typical traits of a narcissist, where they feel better than you, and they'll break you down as best they can to make themselves feel better. But they also have antisocial behavior. So they tend to have paranoid psychological issues, and they indulge in sadism generally and aggression towards others. So that one is usually listed as a particularly dangerous type of person if they also have narcissistic personality disorder. Hey, love you too. Shantae said, I love y'all.
Hey, love you too, cuz.
Now, covert is number 3. Covert are the ones that are super sensitive. They're so sensitive. They're easily hurt. They're more introverted than the grandiose narcissists, but they find it really difficult to deal with any failure. So they're kind of, neurotic about how people view them. And those are the ones that you don't really see coming. Like on the outside, they look kind of normal, but every little thing that you do, anybody else does, that they think offends them. Like you might not even know what you did, but they think you did something that offended them. They'll seek out, what's the word?
Revenge.
Revenge. Thank you. These people. Okay, that's 3. The next 3. Number 4, rather. Communal. So this person, unfortunately, I know so well. They they will be in the community doing the most. They're running the church. They're doing everything that you can think of in the school. They're in the community, making a huge impact and giving all this love and attention to everybody outside of their household. So the people who are closer to them, their spouse, their children, the people who they're supposed to be closest to and give all this love and attention to, they ignore those people purposely because they're better than them. So they ignore them and they deprive them of love and attention and they give it to the outside world because they want people to look at them like they're better than everybody else. So they present as this angel when in fact they're a narcissist. Okay. Then we have the neglectful. Now, the neglectful narcissist is very similar, except they don't care so much about the outside people. They're really good at building emotional bonds with other people, but then they use that emotional bond to control them. So it's like I'll get really close to you, and then they pull back love until you do what I say you do, and that's how they control people. Lastly, number 6 is the cultural alert, what they call generational. This one, this type of narcissist from the tolerance and promotion and reinforcement of these attitudes and values in society. So like overvaluing power, success, and money, the stereotypical beauty, all that stuff. This is what I call narcissistic tendencies. Like I didn't know they had actually deemed this a form of narcissism, like clinically. But I call it narcissistic tendencies because there's so many people who find it socially acceptable to embody these traits and treat people like shit, basically. So after that whole explanation, I want to talk about real life stuff. So Leo, what type of narcissist, I don't know if it's one or multiple, have you personally dealt with in life?
I would say, personally, I've seen or dealt with all of them. Um, One that is very significant, and it seems like it's the same for you, is the communal type,
Mhm.
because in the public eye, this person is a good person, a well intentioned person, a very engaged person in society, a positive person. And behind closed doors, this person is the opposite. And it is because, from my observation, it's all about their public persona, their public reputation that they have to protect. And therefore, it's all an act. But no one would know except those very close to them.
Right, right. Which is kind of scary. Um, Rose said 1 and 3 are the same person. No, 1 and 3 are very different. Hold on, let me look at 1 and 3.
1 and 3.
1 is grandiose. That's the person who's an extrovert, like they're overtly oppressive. And number 3 is covert, and they're the ones who they
Oh,
present as a nice, normal person.
I know number 3.
Yeah, you do. So do I. You definitely do. They present as a normal, nice person, but they underneath they have extremely low self worth. Well, all narcissists do, but these people they try to pretend like they're all that in a bag of chips, while being super sensitive, hypersensitive about anything that's not in agreement with them.
Yes.
Experience. I feel you. And you know what? The thing is, I'm glad you said that, my personal experience, Ro, because the thing is, you can encounter a narcissist who has a combination of these personality types. So it's not that they can only be one or the other. Sometimes they're more than one. They fall into more than one category. So you can have absolutely had an experience like that where that person was both of them. Yes. Thank you for sharing that. But Leo, I interrupted you. I'm sorry.
Well, I was done with that one statement, but our guest there brought up another uh, segment of it when she mentioned 1 and 3. Now, 1 is what's pretty easy to identify, and it's out in the open, as you already said, right?
Yeah.
It's now 3. I don't know if you're ready to go into it, but 3 is very interesting because to me, if I summarize it, this is the paranoid person. This is the
Yeah.
lives in their head, and whatever is inside of their head is their reality. And there's nothing you can do or say to change whatever's in their head.
Right.
And that's the biggest difference with the covert, the person who's always worried about what somebody thinks or worried that something is wrong or that you're doing something wrong, which is also the person who never takes accountability.
Yes. Well, you put that so well. And don't get us wrong. No narcissist ever takes accountability. That's not a thing. None of them do. But that is the person who is super paranoid, living in their head. They have this whole story of who they are and who you are. And so you're like walking around in their fantasy world. And as you do things, whether you think is good or bad doesn't matter because they have their own definition and idea of what good and bad is based on their world that you know nothing about. So you can't win. It's a lose-lose situation.
Absolutely. You see the comments over there?
Yes. Go ahead. You was about to address one.
Uh, no, I was just pointing out one that says, ladies, you must qualify a man. And then I see Shantae's. These are just the two that we didn't address, out loud yet. And Shantae says such a necessary truth.
Yeah.
She said how it plays in past traumas for narcissists as protective measures. That is interesting. It'll be an interesting series.
It will
And
be an interesting series. Oh yeah. Stick around. Because and I assume what you mean, Shantae, is becoming a narcissist as a protective measure from past trauma? Is that what you mean? That's how I'm reading it. Let us know if it's something different. But before I address that, Lou says, ladies, you must qualify a man. And I do not disagree. And I don't know. Look, we don't want to turn this into a relationship series, but those things will come up because unfortunately, this experience of narcissistic trauma happens usually in romantic relationships. A lot of times it happens in family dynamics too, but then people don't usually realize them and do anything about it until they're adults in romantic relationships. So you definitely must qualify a man. And I know Leo might say a man must qualify a woman too.
Hey, I'm not here to divert from the point. The point is what they said, and that's what we'll talk about.
Right. Like it's all fair and necessary. Okay, so yeah, how they haven't healed and because of their childhood traumas, they have developed this personality as protective measures. Um, yes, that is true in like as a foundational understanding of how narcissists are created. Generally, that is true that they've had some huge trauma in their childhood. Usually, they've had a narcissistic parent who treated them with disregard and made them feel unworthy um, and get and have low self-esteem, and then they turn to acting like that parent to feel like they have a little power, because kids need power too. Like they're little human beings, so they need to feel like they have some kind of power over themselves, over their bodies and their little minds and their ideas. Like they need to feel empowered to some extent. So if you have a parent who is a narcissist, it's really hard to step into your own. It's really hard to trust yourself. Narcissists will gaslight you to death and make you feel like you don't know anything, make you feel like all of your thoughts and ideas are not worthy, not true, and you can't come up with stuff on your own. You know how kids are. They want to do it themselves. They want to be right about something. They want to be good at something. So a narcissistic parent can definitely turn a child into a narcissist, treating them that way. Now, the only thing though is it's so hard to completely call a person a narcissist because so many people have these traumas from childhood and they turn into either the victim or the abuser, basically. So the narcissist would be the abuser. Many people turn into the victim, but the narcissist would be the role of the abuser. But to become a full narcissist, you have no emotional response. That is the difference generally between a narcissist and just a person. No emotional response to people who have regular emotions. So they can treat you like crap and not really care. It's just kind of like, it's what it is. You deserve it. It doesn't matter how good you are. You deserve whatever they give you. And they have they're not in tune with their emotions at all. So that's the difference. And family plays a role. Yeah. I mean, the family piece is huge. That's where everything begins. Everything begins in childhood. Your therapist will tell you so. So, yes, the family piece is huge. And it's just a matter of how people respond to trauma. Either you become like your abuser or you kind of settle into victimhood. Leo?
Yes. So what
Yeah.
about we talked about the type of narcissist. Well, at least I picked one type that I've come across or had experience with. Do you have a type? Is it the same type as mine, or do you want to pick a different one?
I do have the same type of yours, unfortunately. But I also I'm going to pick a different one because that's the one that it's probably the one that irritates me the most.
Okay.
This is
Fair.
what they call communal narcissist, the one that looks to, like, they have this self-perceived grandiosity, like, you know, they're entitled, and they build up their own power by promoting themselves through commitment to other people. So through the community, through their ability to listen and connect, like they make it seem like they have this, like the purpose of their life is to help people, to connect with people, to make them feel seen and heard, and, you know, help them to the next stage in their life. This is the person I encountered in high school who said it was so, like, when I look back on stuff, sometimes I'm like, man, that was smart. That was like smooth, like how she did it. And the setup is so thorough. Like, they really get to know you as a person. They get to know what you need. They get to know your likes and dislikes. They get close to you. They make you feel like they are in your corner. They're there for you. And they can be like a trusted source. And then that same person uses everything they know about you to manipulate you, to get their way, to get what they call a narcissistic supply, which is really just emotional supply. It's just energy. But they use everything they know about you to control you, to make themselves look better in the public eye. And it's a very interesting thing because it is the epitome of child abusers, usually sexual child abusers, who treat their victims like that. Like, they, you know, take their time and get close and set them up, you know, to feel comfortable and connected, and then take advantage. So that's how this narcissist type works, the communal narcissist. And it works so well, like it's so well done. And narcissists are really smart, y'all. That's a thing. A lot of people will say stuff like, oh, they're dumb. They don't know what they're doing, they're talking about, and, you know, they're just angry. And they're really intelligent people, because it takes intelligence to make all these strategic moves and make that mess work. So vast majority of narcissists you run into, they've studied this. They've studied how to be a snake. They've studied how to get close to people, how to set people up for failure, how to make people look like they're the bad guy, how to make themselves look like the victim. Like, they've studied this stuff. So this lady in high school, she set me up, right? And then my friends called her Waterworks, because she would do something like, maybe you know, I'm a teenager, so maybe I said something that was like not nice, flip at the mouth or something. And she would say stuff like, after all I've done for you, you know, how you talk to me. And it would be something simple like, you know, I don't want to do that. I want to do this. I don't want to go to that school. I want to go to this school. It would be like, after all I've done for you, you have to go to the school I want you to go to, because I've done this for you.
Jeez.
And this is something we see in society so much, but people kind of typecast it. So lately, you know, talk about like the Catholic Church or something, they'll be like, yeah, those people, you know, because they're in the news, and so they're typecast into this you know, area. But it's happening in people's day-to-day lives in various ways, and that's one of the bigger ways it has happened in my life. Even though I also have the covert narcissist experience too. Yeah,
Okay.
they're intelligent and they manipulate intelligent but empathetic people. That is so true. That's so true. Because, I mean, you're intelligent too. I'm intelligent. Like, I'm shit. I'm very clear on that. But I was still taken advantage of by a narcissist, multiple narcissists, and that's something. So you're right. It's that that kind of, not kind of, the narcissistic codependency draw and relationship. So one person is so devoid on self-love that the only way they can feel good about themselves is to pick on somebody who has a whole lot of love to give. And that codependent person is looking for love so hard because they're in that victim role. So they're looking for love. So they have all this love to give and they're trying to give it away full throttle. They're like, I have it. You can have it. I just want to love you. And they're super empathetic to the narcissist who is always a victim. Not really, but in the public eye, they're always a victim. Something is always happening. Somebody is always against them. They never take responsibility. They're always a victim. So before you know they're narcissists, if you are codependent, if you are an empath who is not completely healed, then it's easy for you to be drawn to that person. And it's like the meal of a lifetime. They eat forever off that one person, just gaslighting you, making themselves right and making you wrong over and over and over again until you, for many people, don't even recognize yourself. It's real.
So, LadyWake, let me ask you a question. And it's also to divert from this love talk because I'm getting sick to my stomach. But are you saying that
Some people like love.
no? Are you saying that there are people who purposely, methodically target and attack and attach themselves as a parasite to a host on purpose?
See, this is why you're here. That is exactly what I'm saying. Very straightforward, succinct language. That is exactly it. That's the truth. That's the truth.
I
It's done
wonder.
purposely.
I wonder if that's something that people can really fathom because we think that people become a certain way inside of a relationship, whether it's intimate or not. But what if these people are that way purposely with anybody or with any close relationship, should I say, or domestic relationship, should I say?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
That that's very interesting.
Oh yes. They are like that with anybody they can be like that with. And usually you'll find narcissists don't have any friends for real. Like they don't have people who are very close to them. They don't have many people who are close to them. And
See,
about waterworks. Because she was one of the people called her waterworks. It's hilarious. She knows waterworks. Yes. But they usually don't have really close friends or family members because they're so toxic. And it only works for so long, until the person figures it out and tries to move on. Um, but unfortunately, a lot of people don't even get out. And you know what else? That idea that somebody is doing all of this manipulation on purpose is so hard to grasp. That was my problem for a long time. I was like, this can't be like nobody is that fucking evil, are they? Oh, I don't think I'm supposed to say that word online. But nobody is that evil, are they? Like that is that a thing?
yes.
And it is. And it took a long time for me to really come to grasp with some people really just they're out to be mean and destroy. They are out to destroy. Rose said they'll destroy anything they're involved in if they are running the show. That is exactly the truth. And even if they are running the show, they destroy it because, you can't feed the dead. They kind of like suck you dry and then
That's
discard you.
that's really interesting because I was going to try to get into real quick. Number one, what do um, what would this type of person get in return for their behavior? What are they seeking from us? And then sometime later on, if we have time, since Ro was talking about destroying, if they are running the show, I want to touch on how do they behave once they're figured out.
Oh Lord.
And I'm sure
Yeah.
we'll do that at some point.
Yes. Well, okay, so I'll start with what they receive. So everything is energy. So if you all don't know by now, I operate in energy. We all do, but most people act like they don't know. They don't know, or they act like they don't. Right. So I very clearly and outwardly operate in energy, and narcissists work in energy as well. So if you are a person, because remember, they have very, very low self-esteem, like they are devoid of self-love. Okay, on the inside they look like they got all together out here, but on the inside they're devoid of self-love. So when they see a person who is vibrant, who seems like, they got their stuff together, they're attractive, they're energetic, they're happy, they want what that person has. So but in their mind, the only way to get what that person has is to get that person under their control. So if they control you, that means they can strip you of those things and take it on for themselves. Because to them, you don't deserve to have this stuff. I should have this. I'm the victim here. I'm the one that nobody, pays attention to, or, whatever their story is. Their story is they deserve it, not you, in their mind. But they go about it in a very manipulative way where they get you under their thumb, so to speak, get you in their, inner space. And they literally, like you said, like a leech, they will suck your energy from you. And they do that because that makes them feel good. So that's what they get out of it. They feel good. They feel important. They feel like they're worthy of something. They feel love for a split second. Like they can't really feel love because, like I said earlier, they don't have that emotional connection that regular people, people who don't have a personality disorder, do. But they do for those moments or for that time period, they feel something that resembles love, that resembles worthiness. So that's enough for them. And so they do it over and over again. They lose one supply, like Rose said, they'll destroy it, and then they'll find another one, and they'll start over, and they'll do it over and over again. It's an addiction. It looked like an addiction. It's like whatever I can do to get my fix of feeling good, of feeling worthy, of somebody looking up to me, and whatever their story is, they do that. Now, how they do that, there are many layers to that, but I think one thing that people are really familiar with is gaslighting. Or so they act like you're attacking them, you're out to hurt them. Yep, feel for me, see me, how good you. Oh, they're such whiny babies. I love how you put that, Rose. That is so real. Yes, they're running you into the ground. Yep, and what they think is love is not love at all. That is the absolute truth. They are always the victim. They will always present as the victim, and you can't give them enough of anything to fix it. There's not enough love. There's not enough attention. There's not enough, praise. There's just not enough because they can't embody it. They can't soak it in. A regular person, if you give them praise and attention and love, they can soak it in and they can give some back because they're emotionally connected. A narcissist is not emotionally connected. I don't care what it looks like. They might as well be a robot. They're not emotionally connected. And so they cannot reciprocate. It's not a thing. They'll always be the victim.
Let me say
You don't
something.
hear them say.
Yeah, Rose going off tonight. Uh,
On point.
just to go back a little bit when you were talking about how this relationship works and what the narcissist receives as a parasite in the form of energy, right?
Yeah.
That fuels their agenda. So I heard this theory before, which I think has some truth in it, that if you ask a person to describe themselves in general, they
Mhm.
will describe either one, who they wish they were, or if you're in an intimate situation, say on the first date or something, they will describe who they want their partner to be.
Mhm.
Now, this is interesting to me that you brought up this type of behavior that basically this person is projecting, right?
Yeah.
Who they want to be, who they wish they were.
Yes.
And I just wanted to ask, are we pretty much in a society full of pretenders? Are we sleeping next to pretenders time and time again with people who's walking around as actors and not as real people?
I want to say clearly that's if I was only talking to you, but yeah, I think that's a very important question, because I still want to say clearly. Clearly, our society is made up of pretenders. Like everything is driven by what is popular and in demand, and so you could very easily be connected to a person and not really connected. So you're in a relationship, you're living together, you got kids, and you really know nothing about who that person truly is. It's not very difficult to do these days, because people don't talk about anything beyond the surface stuff. And so if all you see is, and especially because a lot of this comes in from trauma bonding, and that we'll talk about, probably next week. That's trauma bonding is serious. And it's like an addiction. It is so strong. It creates a really huge stronghold. And so if you're connected through trauma, what you see is, oh my God, I've been through this. I know how this feels. That hurt. And that other person is saying to you, I've been through the same thing and I know how that feels. That hurts. Except they're a narcissist. So they really don't feel any pain like you feel pain. They're not hurt in the moment like you're hurt in the moment. They're not emotionally connected to the situation. They're just mirroring you because they know if they connect with you based on your trauma, that you two can, take it to the next level and they can gain control because you have feelings. They can hurt you, but you can't really hurt them. Like they're so damaged that it's like your nerve endings being, damaged beyond repair. You can't do anything. No jolt of electricity will bring them back to life. Like you just can't do anything about it. So they're damaged. They're so damaged that what a normal person would feel as emotional pain, they can't get there. But they mirror you. So it makes you feel like they are on your level and they're understanding you, but they're really not. It's a game. It's manipulation.
And I see Ro over here going in again. They wear whatever mask they need to.
Yep.
Wow, this is really interesting. It's almost like we're describing a monster or something. I mean,
Yep.
I think these are real people.
It really feels that way because I mean, and if you do the research, if you look at the research that has been done, I should say, you'll see that the vast majority of narcissists never recover. They never recover. They die. A narcissist, they die with that same mentality that they are better than everybody, yet everybody has done nothing but horrible things to them. And they feel like they're set up for failure in every situation, based on whatever story is in their mind. And there are some cases that I've heard of where people were a narcissist and they turned their lives around through whatever means, but it's a very rare thing because that emotional attachment is necessary. Like you can't change unless you know you're doing something wrong. And if you're not there emotionally, it's hard to know you're doing something wrong or to really know how wrong it is. Because I'm sure they know that they're not, some things are wrong, but they don't really grasp how wrong it is, how much they're hurting people, how much they're taking, the fact that they need to give back. Like they don't get that stuff that normal people get.
So let me.
Go ahead.
You sure? You can go
Yeah.
ahead. So the emotions that a narcissist project onto you, how would you describe this if these feelings are not actual feelings and actual emotion, what are they doing here? Are they completely acting? Is it just for manipulation purposes? Or are they really hurt that they aren't being fed the energy that they need from you at the time?
Well, it's definitely for manipulation purposes. We'll say, narcissism was a real thing. It's scared to learn that it's an actual mental disorder. It is. It is an actual mental disorder. And so they are manipulating their prey, so to speak, to for whatever reason. It depends on the person. They want different things at different times. But they project, so there are two things going on. First, they mirror. They'll mirror the person that they want under their thumb or they want to attach to. And that gets them in, that gets them connected. And then when they start projecting, by the time they start projecting, that's when they feel like they already have some type of power over you. So now they can gaslight you. They can say that everything is your fault. They can say that you're attacking them. They, don't take responsibility. So if you're dating or something and, the narcissist shows up 30 minutes late and you say, what's up with that? You're 30 minutes late. They'll be like, that's not important. Let's go do this. Or why, or don't do it. Why are you dwelling on that? We're late for dinner. And it's like, you don't want to make it us late. What are you talking about? But stuff like that. If you have a narcissist parent and the child maybe, usually if you have a narcissist parent, the child is doing their best to make that parent happy. Like the child is really taking care of that parent, doing everything they think will work to make that parent happy. But that means the parent has complete control, because if the child ever does something that is not what that parent wants at the time, and it might be the same thing, like this kid brushes their teeth at 7 a.m. every morning, but this one morning, the narcissistic parent wanted that space in the bathroom at 7 a.m. and the kid was in there brushing their teeth. So the parent is like, why are you always in the way? You don't do anything right. Stuff like that to make the child feel small just because they want their way at the moment. So it's all about whatever they want. It can be anything and you just don't know because it's in their mind. It's not something that's stated. You have no blueprint, really. It can be anything, but it's definitely manipulation.
Manipulation.
Definitely.
Well, I imagine that's something that most people don't realize. Because when you see a person being emotional, you just take it for what it looks like.
Right.
And it's hard to imagine that this person is completely pretending or making a maneuver to get their way.
Yeah.
With real feeling, like you mentioned earlier, real attachment.
Right. Right. Yeah. But it's real, and it is hard to grasp, and it's really hard to explain to people who have never been through it too, because they think you're crazy. They think you're overreacting. It's like they see a person from the outside of the situation, and they figure they look like a perfectly normal person. Like they might be a bit of a butthole, but they can't be all that bad. So it's very hard to describe for a person who is outside of it or who has never experienced it before. So that's part of the reason why this awareness is huge. You need to know that these people are everywhere. And you probably have a person like this in your family. You probably dated a person like this. I hope you haven't, but now as you go through life, you can kind of evaluate your experiences. I think it's really important to look back on experiences in your life and make an assessment on what it was and what it meant for you, what you learned from it, and so forth. And knowing what narcissism is can save your life. And I don't mean that lightly. I don't mean it as a joke. I'm not over, making this bigger than what it is. It can literally save your life. People by far go crazy What I mean by that is have emotional mental breakdowns after narcissistic trauma or abuse. The trauma is too much for a lot of people, and they literally have mental reactions and distortions, and they lose themselves on many levels. And so this stuff is no joke. Narcissism is no joke, especially if it's a person that's close to you in your life. If it's like a boss or something, you might not, really suffer as much over that. But then again, that depends on how close you are and how much control they have over your life, your job has over your life. So this awareness is everything, y'all. Everything. Leo, come on, Joe, y'all got something to say?
Well, I'm just listening. I know as far as this topic goes and this characteristic, you will be more well versed and knowledgeable than I am. I'm just here asking a few questions, but if we have a little time, I know we're about 47 minutes in. Do you want to discuss some of the reactions that narcissists have once you discovered their tactics, once you discover their manipulation, and you're into the phase where you start to defend yourself? How do they behave in general, would you say?
Yeah. See, that one is tough because generally they get worse. Generally they up the ante. It is whatever it's been. So whether it's been gaslighting you, telling you you're nothing, whether it's been making you feel guilty about everything, them being the victim. Some narcissists are physically abusive too, because sometimes if they can't control you with words and with making you feel bad, then they'll take it up a notch, and many times it is physical. And so it just depends on what you're in with your particular narcissist or what kind of, but they generally get worse. They get much worse because they're scared. They're afraid to lose their supply. Remember, it's like an addiction. They need this high from you, from this, healthier person. And so they'll do anything they can to make sure you stay under their control. And that means smearing your name a lot of times. They'll tell your family and friends because they don't have much. So they'll tell all your people, horrible things about you. And when I say they're good, Joe, like they'll do this. And I've had this experience personally where it's all kind of stories out there about me from a narcissistic partner I had, and I didn't even know about it for like a couple years because he was so good at making it seem like he was concerned about me, and he just wanted to talk to people about, this is going on, and I'm just concerned because I'm tired of being victimized, but I don't want to, like there was a story. And so they will take it to another level and be sneakier and more manipulative and meaner and sometimes physically abusive, depending on who you're dealing with. So it's best really not to let a narcissist know that you're onto them. That is really the best way to do it. You need to be aware for yourself, and then you need to quietly make your moves to get away from that person. If you can completely cut them off without any communication, any attachments, that's the way to go. Unfortunately, some of us have children with narcissists, and that means you can't completely cut them off 100% because you have this connection through your child. But then there are other ways you can be kind of what they call gray. You can gray walk a person. But that's something we can definitely go more into depth with in coming episodes, because you need to know how to protect yourself. And in coming episodes, maybe next week or week 3, I think maybe we will talk about children, because we need to know how to protect our children from narcissistic abuse and trauma. And Unfortunately, there's only so much we can do. Like you can't completely shield your children from anything, but promise you, your awareness, your understanding of this whole phenomenon will make a difference in your life and in the lives of your children if they have narcissistic parents or, if they're around any narcissists. It will make a difference. Joe.
Absolutely. Would you say there are any obvious red flags in the beginning of a relationship, or would you kind of have to wait things out and just stay aware?
Oh, there are some red flags, and it depends on the type of narcissist you're dealing with too. So sometimes the covert narcissist is harder to scope out, but there are definitely some red flags. I love that role. You're right. One healthy parent is better than a narcissist bringing down the other parent and the children. That's right. It starts with you, with self. Um, but some easy red flags in the beginning. One is person who does not have their own opinion, because a narcissist will latch on to anything you think. So everything you think, they think too. What you believe, they believe. Whatever you've been through in life, they've been through the same thing or something really similar. Whatever trauma you've experienced, whatever things make you upset or scared or whatever, they have the same experience. So they will they'll focus on you and ask you all the questions possible about your life. And then their only conversation is about how they've been through the same thing versus most normal people who, have had different experiences in life, because we're not all the same person. So we have different experiences, or at least feel different things about experiences. That's a pretty obvious one. Another one is they can't tell the truth. Like you'll catch them in lie. Pay attention. You have to pay attention though. You have to know what to look for, and you have to pay attention. And they lie about anything, the littlest things and big things, but anything. And if you call them out on something that they have to take responsibility for, they cannot take responsibility. They will divert it to you in some way or blame somebody else. They just cannot take responsibility for anything. And so at the beginning, that part is easy because it can be something simple. It can be, making a mistake on a text, spelling a word wrong. It could be being late or something. It can be um, I don't know, asking a weird question. Like it doesn't matter what it is. It can be the smallest thing, but they will find it would be like tearing their heart out to take responsibility. And that's something that you can notice up front. Man, Leo, you have some good questions out here. You know what? Also, I wanted to say, because earlier you were saying that I would be like, the person, the expert or whatever, because I study this. But I feel like it's really important. It's really important for you to be here because you have personal experience with narcissists, and that makes you qualified, period. And that's something I want you all to know. If you have had a personal experience with a narcissist, it doesn't matter in what capacity, whether it was a parent, a friend, a teacher, a boss, a child, whatever. Yes, there are child narcissists out here. So if you've had a personal experience, then you are qualified for this discussion. You are qualified to make decisions about for yourself, for your own safety, for the safety of your family, your children, your spouse, whatever your case is, whatever your situation is. You are qualified. So that's very important to know. You don't have to be an expert. I'm not an expert. I actively study it because of my own healing practice in helping women heal from abuse and trauma, but that still doesn't make me an expert. What makes you an expert, in my opinion, is experience. So experience qualifies you. That's what we are. I just put that out there.
Makes
All right,
sense.
so we gotta wrap it up. What you got, Leo?
Um, I would just say real quick, now that we know some indicators, some early warning signs, some red flags, um, I would say, as you already mentioned, to take note of these warnings.
Yeah.
And we'll probably get into it later, but I would prefer to tell people to find a way to maintain your own leverage. So when you need to get out of there, you can get out of there.
Yes.
And don't wait until it's too late and you're in too deep. You have children or you're in a contract of some sort, you're in a cohabitation situation where you have to wait and wait and wait because they can just pull you deeper into an unfortunate situation, and it takes its mental toll on you.
Yeah, absolutely does. That's perfect advice, Leo. It's like any abusive situation. You have to create a plan to escape. You have to keep quiet about it, and you have to maintain some personal power in the meantime because it's not easy to leave an abusive relationship of any kind. And this kind of abuse is the kind that many people don't understand because it's internal, it's mental, emotional abuse. And so people look at you and think you're fine. They're like, there's nothing wrong with you. You know, you have this life, you have a family, you should be happy, you should be grateful. People told me that a lot. You should be grateful for all the stuff you have. And it was like, how do I explain? I didn't know how to explain it. And so, again, this awareness, first and foremost, is everything for your survival. Next week, we're definitely going to get into more of how you can create your personal power while dealing with a narcissist. We're going to get more into that covert narcissist as well, because a person who is that emotional is the person who ends up doing things that are detrimental to your life. And being vulnerable, feeling vulnerable makes a person really, really angry. And so we have to touch on that. And then, of course, how to protect ourselves in those situations. So, man, this is great. Come back next week, next Tuesday, 9 p.m. Central Standard Time. So 10 p.m. Eastern, 9 p.m. Central. We'll be here. It's like, I know it's a little late, y'all, but got to put the babies in bed and stuff. So here we are. And we'll hash this out together and expand this awareness. Hey, Mommy Gloria. Expand this awareness so that we really start to heal. We have to start to heal ourselves and do what we can to protect our babies. So with that, Leo, you want to say peace?
Yeah, peace. Thanks to everybody for joining. We'll see you guys next Tuesday.
Yes, love it.
Stay safe.